Hey everyone, Travis here at the end of the second day of quarterfinals in CLG Doublelift's room. Doublelift known for his analyst desk antics. Doublelift had a chance to talk to Quickshot yesterday about how things have been on the analyst desk, but I'd love to get your perspective. What's it like being there with all the guys?
It's just like anything else, it's kind of competitive because Monty and Crepo are pretty competitive. But overall, it's a good experience. Like it's funny, especially like most of the funny stuff happens off camera, and then when we get on, we have to be more professional. But I guess I try to break that a lot more because it gets kind of dry, just like getting the analysis. Okay, they won here. This was the turning point. This was really good. Just really like breaking down the game. That's fun, but sometimes it should be more relaxed, I think.
Yeah. What kind of funny things are happening off camera?
Oh, everyone's just talking a lot of shit. Just, oh, you're so dumb. Look, like everyone's screaming because we all have our own like personal predictions about who's gonna win. Um, but overall, like all the group stage games are really unpredictable. So there's like a lot of surprise, and then when we get surprised, we're like, you suck. Like you're so wrong, and then it just gets pretty intense. But in the end, it's all in good fun. Like nobody's actually mad at each other. People thought that it was gonna be awkward or something because of me and Monty, but we're cool.
Sounds cool indeed. All right, so when you're not on the analyst desk every day, what have you been doing? Like, what's it like to be on the analyst desk when you're not on camera?
When I'm not on the analyst desk, most of the time, then there's a stat guy. I'm sure people who follow the sports scene kind of know him. Optimus Tom. He used to be a caster for MLG and some other events, and he does stats. Also, Yut Win, ex-pro player, he does stats too. So we kind of call on those guys. We say like, "Oh, I'm interested in this player. Can you pull up these stats?" Because like we don't have the time to go through all the games. They have it all on spreadsheets, so it's really easy. They're just like, oh, well, his KDA across 8 games on this champion was this, this, this. So we have like points of reference. So whenever we say something, most of the time it's because we have the stats to back it up. So if we ever get questioned about it, we can just say, oh, well, he had this performance on these games. A lot of the time we don't go into those stats, so because it's kind of boring to just throw numbers at people. But when we say like, oh, for example, Deft has like a really bad laning phase. Statistically, he has like really bad CS at 10, and we look at those games and we're like, okay, he doesn't actually do anything. He just loses lane. Then count up his CS at 10 minutes. He's the second worst AD carry out of 16 AD carries in this tournament. So stuff like that. We don't go into depth, but we try to always have like facts to back up what we say.
You're normally participating in the LCS and competing there, but at the analyst desk, you have all this time to like look at stats and really analyze and break down specific players on like even just a numbers level. Is it a different experience at all, or does it make you think like, oh, this is something I need to pay attention to, or has it inspired you at all to maybe look at stats more as you go into next year?
Not really. I think stats is just like a way to make your point, not the other way around. It's like you shouldn't use stats to. You should have your point first. Say like, oh, you think a player is strong or weak, and then use stats to back it up. But you shouldn't take the stats and then draw conclusions from that because they can be really misleading. Like for example, today, even though Deft is or yeah, Def does have a really bad early game, but like Sneaky also had a really poor early game showing in group stage. So if you look at the statistics, you wouldn't have expected Sneaky to just absolutely crush today against Samsung Blue, but he was like playing amazing. So I think stats can be really misleading, and I don't really care too much about them. I just want to play good or play well. God, this stupid English is hard. And I'm more looking at like the bigger picture. For example, like mentality and what comps are good. How to play the map, because you can be good in laning phase. Like Afro and I are really good in lane, but outside of lane we're not that great. Honestly, probably Sneaky and Lemon are better than us outside of lane. And I'm looking for more of that stuff. And when I'm on the desk, I don't necessarily think about how I'm going to translate into my own play. I think more just how I'm going to convey this information to everyone else, because I have a pretty one-track mind, and it's like I can't really be thinking about like, oh, I can apply this here, 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 and tell my team this, this, this. It's more like, how am I going to tell people who are watching like the things that I know?
Let's talk about Sneaky a little bit, because despite Cloud9 going out today, a lot of people were giving him praise for his performance. Sneaky is an AD carry that kind of goes under the radar. Lots of people talk about you. They talk about Reckless. They talk about some of these big names. What are your thoughts on Sneaky as a AD carry, even specifically in North America after today's match?
Yeah, at the playoffs actually, I praised Sneaky a lot. And I said and it still stands. He's like probably one of the top 80. He's definitely one of the top 80 carries in North America, and he has like a lot of strengths. He also has a lot of weaknesses, but most of the time he's just really, really consistent. So the thing that I really like about Sneaky's playstyle is when he's doing well, he knows how to pop off and like do really well. The weakness I see is his playmaking ability is kind of weak. He doesn't like when the game is going even or he's behind. He doesn't make any sort of game-changing plays, but he is really, really good. He might even be the best AD carry in North America just because he's so consistent. I almost never see him the reason why they lose, but a lot of the time he's the reason why they can snowball because the rest of that team actually, Meteos knows how to snowball. He doesn't mess up too much and throw. High actually has a really big tendency to lose when they're ahead. Actually, like he has one of the highest deaths of any mid laner when Cloud9's ahead, which is surprising. Like when you're ahead, you would expect like, okay, just play safe. We're gonna close out the game. But High gets caught a lot when they're ahead. Ball stats aren't that impressive either. But Sneaky almost always when they're ahead, he is really consistent. 0 deaths, maybe like 1 death, something like that. So he's super good, and I've always respected him as a AD carry.
Now, there's been a pretty big conversation that's broken out between a lot of people, including Monty, on Twitter about is the gap closing and all that kind of thing between either the Western teams and the Eastern teams, or even specifically NA and Korea. After watching today's games and now that North America's out, what are your opinions on that topic?
Personally, I think it is. It's more of a gut feeling than actually like a statistical feeling. Because like if you really think about the placings of Korea this year versus the placings of Korea last year, actually, you would think that Korea would be a lot weaker, right? Or sorry, Korea was a lot better this year than they were last year. Just thinking about it, all 3 of them just absolutely steamroll their groups. If you look at last year's Worlds, one of those teams didn't even make it out of the groups. The only reason SKT. It was like SKT versus Najin, Black Sword? Yeah. In the semifinals, one of those teams just like almost got automatically placed there because they played, I think it was Gamma Bears, and then they played Najin. So it was like a free win. That was SK Telecom, the winners of the whole tournament. That was free. And Najin almost lost last year to Gambit. They got taken to the very last game against Gambit Gaming, who like now is CLG level. They got relegated, or they had to play in relegations. So like, if you just kind of look at those numbers, one didn't make it out of groups, one almost lost to Game of Gaming, and then they both ended up facing each other in the semis, and it was a really close series. Like, you would think, okay, that was when Korea was a lot weaker. But, I don't know. I still think that this year we kind of caught up a little bit. TSM, I think TSM and Cloud9, if they're just a little bit stronger individually, they could have won. Like, I'm not saying that they should win or something, but it wouldn't have been like this massive David and Goliath upset. It would have been more like, oh, it's probably like a 30-70 matchup, maybe like a 25-75 matchup. This time it was like a 10% chance. No, not even 10%. It was like a 5% chance that these teams would win. So I think next year will be a lot closer. But definitely this year, the gap has increased. I agree.
You mean gap has decreased?
No, the gap has increased this year.
So Korean teams got better than North American teams.
Yes, absolutely. They had such a free ride last year, and it was so much harder for them. Like, they struggled against Gambit, like I said. They got 10 times better. They're way more consistent. All 3 of their teams blew themselves out of groups in first seed.
Okay. So then the gap has increased. So North America has even further they have to go to catch up to Korea.
Yeah, but I think that gap is a lot easier for us to close now. So, like
it's a bigger gap, but we can move through the gap faster.
Yeah, that's what I think. We have a lot more structure, and like we're taking Korean teams being so much better a lot more seriously, and we have like the right attitude. Like North American pro player attitude right now is something along the lines of we're really, really fucking bad. We just have to copy what Korean teams do to improve. And before, like, there was some arrogance. It was like, oh, Cloud9's the best team in North America. Like, we just have to copy what they do to improve. And Cloud9 was like, we're the best in North America. We can do whatever we want. We could copy Koreans, or we could just play our own style. Now every team is a lot more like on an even playing field. So we don't have this like godlike team like Cloud9 to look up to. We can more look up to the Koreans, which I'm not saying we didn't do before, but we're gonna do it more so now. We're gonna have a lot more structure and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely this year, Koreans widen the gap by a lot. Like, you could tell. Maybe last year, like Najin, Black Sword, and some alternate versus Najin Sword versus like our top North American team like Cloud9. Cloud9 would have had a chance. This year, Cloud9 had no chance. They're not going to beat Samsung Blue. Samsung Blue is like one of the favorites to win the tournament. So, but next year, I definitely expect if the same matchups happen again and TSM gets better, Cloud9 gets better, if that matchup happens again, I definitely expect North America to have a better chance than like the 5% that they had to win this series. Like, it had to, like Dandy or Spirit had to have gotten hit by a car, basically, for them to win these series.
Did you think that there was any chance of that happening? Just a car coming through the studio and hitting them while they're playing?
Maybe some crazy North American fan could have done it. But yeah, people who thought that, oh, they could totally win, like, they're delusional. They have no idea how strong these guys are. Like, Samsung Blue and Samsung White, one of them will guaranteed win this tournament.
You have an idea of which one?
No, I have no idea because so historically Samsung Blue has been like Samsung White's kryptonite, but White looks a lot stronger right now than Blue. They look like they pick up their game a lot better. Both teams were kind of trolling a little bit in the quarters. They weren't trying so hard, so it's really hard to say. But definitely it seems like White's stronger, but they always lose to Blue, so it's like, whoever wins that semifinal series is going to win the tournament. It's kind of like last year where it was between SK Telecom T1K and Najin Black Sword. Whoever wins that semifinal series is guaranteed to win the tournament for the most part, like 90% chance.
Any predictions for the rest of the days? Quarters.
Rest of the days? Yeah. Tomorrow, Sarhan Royal Club versus EDG. You're probably going to see this. So I think because language, like communication, is such a big part. When we listen in, or we have people listen in for us from communications for these Korean teams, it's so clean. You can tell exactly, even if you don't understand the language, you can tell exactly that everyone's on the same page and everyone knows what the hierarchy is. Even though there might be 3 people talking, you know who's like the primary shot caller, and then who's just like kind of calling targets, and who's like kind of offering information and just like a streamline of information. So I don't see that in Starhorn Royal Club because they have 2 Koreans. And from my understanding of how that team works, there's 3 Chinese players, 2 Koreans. The Koreans don't speak Chinese, and the Chinese players don't speak Korean. So they speak like a mix of Chinese, English, and like loan words from both languages. Like, it's just really hard for them to communicate. And that's why I think Starhorn Royal Club has one direction, and that's go. And when they're behind, they play really, really bad. And I see them going on tilt really easily because they're obviously not like best friends with each other when you have these rumors about like infighting and stuff like that. So as soon as they start tilting, or as soon as they start losing, which go hand in hand, then I think they're probably going to start losing the whole series. It'll just be downhill from there. So I predict EDG 3-2.
You know what? We'll wait and do the 4th day with the next analyst that I interview. You don't even get to predict that.
Sure.
You don't get that privilege.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to say to any of the fans who are watching you on the analyst desk, being like, man, Doublelift is so smart?
Actually, I think everyone thinks I'm dumb, which is really funny because I have the second highest correct prediction percentage of any analyst. Monty's number 1, and then I'm a close second. Anyways, back on topic. Yeah, I do have something to say. Thank you guys for watching, and thanks for supporting me. I read like all the both positive and negative stuff on Twitter because that's all there is to do on between the segments and stuff. And thanks to our sponsors. That is, we have new SanDisk, iPad Power, NZXT, Twitch, Razer, and Cellular Core. Yeah. Oh, so good. Yeah, so thank you guys for supporting us, and thanks to all the CLG fans out there because I'm learning a lot from this experience of Worlds, and I'm going to try to translate that into maybe like a better team environment next year.
By the way, we're going to go shopping with Chobra when we get to Seoul?
Yeah, I need to do that.
Why do you need to do it?
Because I need new pants. I've been wearing the same 2 pairs of pants for the last God knows how long.
That's pretty bad. Anything else you need to get?
Not much, Travis, not much.
There's nothing, so we're just going to get pants?
For someone, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe some circle lenses for someone.
For Gosu?
Kill yourself.
Thank you so much, Doublelift, for the interview. Really appreciate it. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of our coverage of all things esports, Worlds, and more at ongamers.com.